Tonight, shutdown and the skies.
I'm Jonathan Amberian in Helena. As the federal government shutdown continues to drag on, Congressman Troy Downing visited the Helena Regional Airport Monday to draw attention to the work of the federal employees working through the shutdown without pay.
Plus, rolling with the changes.
I'm Quentin Shores with MTN News. Changes, whether big or small, have a very large impact on us. I'll have more on why that is coming up.
And later, looking to stay drug-free.
I am Justin Robichaux, and a couple of organizations are taking part in the national celebration of Red Ribbon Week. We'll tell you what this means on MTN News.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening and thanks for making KRTV your choice for news at 5:30. I'm Tim McGonigal. First tonight, the government shutdown has entered its fourth week, and although the Senate is back in session, there appears to be no end in sight to the stalemate. The budget impasse is leaving its mark on the airline industry, with air traffic controllers and TSA workers among those impacted. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Amberian met with Montana Republican Congressman Troy Downing today, who was at the Helena Regional Airport to get an up-close look.
The U.S. House hasn't been in full session since September, and that's meant members like Troy Downing have been making the case to resolve the government funding impasse from their home districts.
We're all hoping and praying that we can get past this quickly because it's not good for America.
On Monday morning, Downing visited Helena Regional Airport, bringing along coffee and donuts as a thank you to TSA and air traffic control employees who are still working and starting to miss paychecks.
Some may say, well, they're still going to get paid, later, but not everybody has the luxury of having, enough money or reserves to, cover their expenses now going forward. A lot of folks need that paycheck to come in.
Most TSA and air traffic control workers are considered essential and keep working without pay during a funding lapse. During the last government shutdown in 2018 and 2019, there were increasing reports of airport staffing shortages leading to delays as it went on. This weekend, national media reported a jump in staffing issues at airports across the country. Helena Regional Airport Director Jeff Wadecamper says so far they've been lucky in this area and haven't seen many direct impacts since the shutdown began. But there have been some impacts at larger airports that have spilled over and affected Helena.
At some of the bigger hub airports and the air traffic system in general, that's typically where we see more delays and things of that nature that may or may not be tied to the shutdown, might be tied to other operational issues, things like that. But locally here, knock on wood, so far so good.
Throughout the shutdown, Democrats have made calls for things like extending subsidies for health plans under the Affordable Care Act. Republicans like Downing have said discussions on those issues won't happen until there's agreement on a clean funding extension. Still, Downing believes there's a strong possibility Congress could find a way to reopen government as soon as next week.
I really think there's already so much pressure from industry that requires those federal programs. From folks that are, that maybe threaten to not get their, nutritional assistance, the SNAP or the WIC payments. There's so much out there that's going to put pressure on getting people to the table.
In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Good evening. The work week started out on a cool note. We did have a lot of clouds around today as we look live from that Great Falls Clinic ICAM, but those winds have been howling across the area. Wind speeds between 15 and 30 miles per hour. We even had some pretty strong winds around Helena and into the mountains for today. Some of those wind gusts up around 40 miles per hour in Helena. Right now, 39 miles per hour in Cut Bank. Tonight is going to be cold. We'll see that wind letting up. Temperatures will dip down into the mid to upper 20s. Any rain or lingering mountain snow showers will dissipate pretty quickly, and we'll see mostly clear skies into the rest of the night, and most of us dropping down into the mid to upper 20s. Now, your headlines going through the next few days will stay pretty cool on Wednesday, and then we are watching a cold front that moves through on Wednesday. That could potentially bring a couple of showers and a little bit of mountain snow, but mainly just more wind, and that's going to be the theme throughout a good portion of this week. We'll watch those temperatures warming up by Halloween and into this weekend. Another round of very strong winds possible into this weekend. I'll have a full look at that forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Last week, mail-in ballots for the Great Falls municipal election went out in the mail, and today we're kicking off our look at the 4 candidates in the running for 2 open seats on the Great Falls City Commission. Casey Schreiner is the Chief Strategy Officer at the Great Falls Community Health Center. He says he spent about half his life in public service as a teacher, working in the state legislature, and serving as the House Minority Leader during his time there. Born and raised in Great Falls, Schreiner says his motivation to run comes from a desire to give back to the community that shaped him. He says his top priority is community safety, ensuring that first responders have the tools they need and that neighborhoods are safe for everyone.
So my number one priority, which I think is the point of local government, is community safety. And so whether that's safety in people safe at home, safe outside, or if that's safety in infrastructure. So my number one priority is making sure that our first responders have the resources they need to protect the streets and make sure that, everybody is safe.
Schreiner says he also wants to focus on partnerships between the city and private industry to address housing, infrastructure, and growth challenges. Again, those ballots have been mailed out. They must be returned by November 4th. You can find our full interview with Schreiner on our website, krtv.com. Just like the weather and the seasons, change is inevitable, from moving to a new city or state to getting a promotion at work to seeing transformation in your community. While it can often be an exciting time, it can also be stressful on many different levels. MTN's Quentin Shore spoke with a mental health expert about how to embrace the change.
Changes, whether big or small, can be difficult for anyone. Recently, I moved to Great Falls away from my friends and family solo, and that's been a difficult change. But it's not just me. The community of Great Falls is going through a very large period of growth, meaning many changes for its residents. But why does change have such an impact on us?
Changing something is generally a learned behavior that we're changing, whether that's, I usually talk about wake up times or go to bed times. We learn that, hey, if I wake up at 8 o'clock, we start changing it and shifting it back, it's breaking our comfort zone.
Our learned behaviors, the actions we are used to taking throughout our lives, are part of our brain's complex programming that helps to keep us alive. However, there are times where it isn't helpful, like when we want to wake up a little earlier or if we get a new job.
You learn what to expect from everybody on your team, the layout of the building, even our favorite parking spot. And so when we switch it, we have to change and relearn all that, right down to where do I park, how are they going to respond to me, do I have to be on guard.
We have adverse reactions to negative change for very obvious reasons, but even positive change can prove difficult for us as we aren't used to maybe a new restaurant opening or having more options for shopping.
Over the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of growth and expansion, revitalization efforts, a lot of local money put back into our community.
New restaurants, more housing, and a refocusing on local community are all things that on paper sound fantastic, but it can cause a lot of uncertainty and fear. For Kelly Pierce, she notes that these changes can be quite a good thing for our residents.
We have a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of businesses that don't look at other new businesses as competition. They work together and help promote the new retail, the new restaurant. They want everybody to be a partnership and work together.
And it's through that partnership and community that breaking out of our old habits and learned behavior becomes possible. Changes are never easy, but we can point to historical moments in the community's growth to see how it's affected us in the long term.
Our mural program is a really good example of that. We started that 7 years ago, and people were kind of hesitant about putting murals on historic buildings, but as it's unfolded, people are really walking around more, experiencing the art and the culture, and recognizing that this is really adding something to our community, not taking away from it.
In Great Falls, I'm Quentin Shores, MTN News.
We're in the middle of one of the largest national drug prevention campaigns that aims to raise awareness and encourage a drug-free lifestyle. For 2025, the theme of Red Ribbon Week is Life is a Puzzle, Solve It Drug-Free. MTN's Justin Robichaud fills us in on what's being done to observe the event locally.
It's Red Ribbon Week, which is a national drug abuse prevention campaign, and a couple of organizations in Great Falls are spreading the word about the dangers of drug use and emphasizing a drug-free lifestyle.
Red Ribbon Week was started in 1988, the whole Remembrance Week, Awareness Week in the Reagan administration, because there was a drug enforcement agent who was brutally killed when he was investigating the drug cartels.
Cascade City County Health Department tobacco education specialist Penny Paul says the use of vaping is high in the Big Sky state.
And when you look at Montana statistics, we are second in the nation to youth vaping. So Montana and Louisiana are second in the nation. We're 24% of our high school kids vape in Montana.
According to Paul, studies show more nicotine are going into vapes and can have an effect on the brain.
And now that they're studying the nicotine in vapes and the flavors and the synthetic nicotine, because if there's synthetic nicotine in vapes, they can put a lot more nicotine in one vape. And so when you look at young people's brains, they're not developed till they're 26. You know, we want healthy kids.
Alliance for Youth Representative Beth Price Morrison regularly gives talks to schools about the effects of marijuana on teens.
Just giving them the facts and information, because boy, oh boy, the brain doesn't heal the same way a skinned knee or a broken bone does. When it's damaged, and marijuana really severely impairs the development of that prefrontal cortex.
She adds vapes can have a mixture of marijuana in them.
I will say what's really concerning is the vape crisis is kind of colliding with the marijuana youth crisis, because if you catch your kid with a vape, there's probably a pretty good chance there's marijuana in there too. That is the vehicle that most of them use.
In the end, according to Morrison, drug usage will continue, and the solution is to inform the youth and give them a better quality of life.
I know that we're not going to be able to totally eradicate this, but our kids deserve a better future. Each and every one of them matters, and they're going to be the ones taking care of you and I someday. So we want them to have the best opportunities they can.
In Great Falls, Justin Robichaux, MTN News.
Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is here in Montana, including here in the Jefferson River Valley. I'm Chet Lehman. Coming up, we talk about FWP's continued efforts to test for this fatal condition and how hunters can help with that effort.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Welcome back. Chronic wasting disease is a fatal condition in deer, elk, and moose. FWP has been testing for it for the past 27 years. MTN's Chet Lehman talks with the FWP about the importance of having hunters help with identifying this disease before it damages animal populations across the state.
Chronic wasting disease, or CWD. It's in some populations of deer in Montana. This hunting season, Fish, Wildlife and Parks will once again be taking samples from hunters in an effort to learn more about the disease.
So every year, every new batch of data we get, we learn more about how the disease is changing. And then additionally, FWP actually works with other agencies, national entities, to try to better understand CWD and also refine our management and make it the most effective it could be.
CWD has severely damaged deer populations in other places. FWP working to make sure that doesn't happen here in Montana. That's why hunter participation is so crucial.
We are worried about whether or not there will be a decrease in populations over the long term. Again, this takes a really long time to happen, so we need to have our samples and understand it, and then if we manage it, we're hoping that we can preserve the hunting traditions in Montana for generations to come.
CWD sampling sites are spread across the state, but a little internet research can make it so hunters can take their own samples.
But you can also go onto our website and learn how to collect and sample yourself. And then you need to bring it into an FWP office or a CWD sampling station, and all those locations are also on our website. And then we can use that to get it tested. And usually test results come back in around 7 days.
Fish, Wildlife and Parks has been testing for CWD since 1998, and the disease was first identified in wild deer populations back in 2017. Last year, 1,157 hunters submitted samples for testing, the largest number since testing began in Montana. In the Jefferson River Valley, Chet Lehman, MTN News.